So, Gary, let's go way, way back, even before you're born.
Mm-hmm.
And think about your dad. Think about your grandfather, grandfathers, it could be.
Okay.
Do you know if your grandfathers were into farming?
My grandfather on my dad's side was, yes.
And let's give him a first name.
Hamilton, Ridgley.
So Hamilton was on a farm in Howard County?
Howard County.
Okay, what was his farm like?
About 50 acres. He milked anywhere from 20 to 30 dairy cattle.
And in those days, it was mostly by hand then?
Yes, when he started, it was by hand.
Did he have a family on the farm when he was doing this?
My dad. My dad was the only child.
Hamilton was farming before your dad was born as well?
No.
How did he get into it then?
I don't know how he actually got into it at all. He, I guess just to make a living, to feed himself, basically. And then I remember when he brought the farm on McHenry Road, my dad was living then. He was...
Hamilton bought this farm?
Yes.
Can you check and see how much time is left on that camera? Remember, it's the ones in parentheses. I want to make sure we have enough to record you over there.
5-5.
55? Yeah. Can you put 55 on the clock and make at 53 tell me?
It'll be 10:30.
Okay.
11:30.
Yeah, 11:30. So can you make a note of that? I'm sorry to interrupt you, Gary.
No problem.
So Hamilton got to this farm. He must have raised the money somewhere to buy it. Do we know how he went about that?
My grandfather, oh man, he did so many jobs. I know, I want to say back then, odd jobs and stuff. He worked for someone that farmed. He worked for Oasters up there on 144. He worked on the farm there, and I would imagine he got most of the money from that. And then I know he worked Springfield Hospital. Drove an ambulance over there for a while. He worked, I think, at Oak Grove. He worked in the post office up there on 97 at Pindell's store back in the day. Worked at Jason's liquor store down on Route 40. And the where McDonald's is at now used to be a Parker's Sub and Milkshakes. And he worked in there for a while. And he was janitors at schools, at the Glenelg Country School, way back in the day.
Sounds like he might have had a strong will to raise money and a strong will to get a farm.
Yes. He always worked the farm and away from the farm too to make ends meet.
He found this farm how?
That I'm not sure. I guess word of mouth back then. You know, actually how he found out it was for sale and all, I don't know.
Whose was it?
Ooh, don't know.
Okay.
Don't know.
So Dad was already born?
Dad was already born then.
What age do you think they arrived at the farm?
They brought the farm in the mid-50s because they built the barn in, no, it might have been in the late 40s because they built the barn in 53.
All right,
for the
ask
cows.
You more about the buildings on the farm in a second. I'm just thinking about, we have a man who has, excuse the term, just rawly I'm using it, jack of all trades.
Yes.
Somewhere along the line, before he bought this farm, he might have had other farm experiences.
Yes, he worked on farms before.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and do we know anything about that?
Not really.
Okay.
I know he worked with Ostermans and he worked on a farm over there off of 97, but I don't know the name of them.
Okay. So that's actually where he would be fair to say that's where he got his urine experiences?
Well, now that I'm thinking about it, he worked at Wilkins Farm down on Wilkins Avenue when it first started. Him and my grandmother's brother worked on the farm together, and they milked cows down there. And that had to be back in the, I want to say, the late 30s or 40s.
Get the name, Wilton?
Wilkins.
Wilkins.
Wilkins, Wilken, just like the
T-O-N.
no, just like the road down there, Wilkins Avenue. It was Wilkins Farm.
Hamilton was amassing his experiences, it obviously sounds like, and then there was the yearn to get his own farm, and your dad, what's your dad's first name?
Warren.
Warren was born. So Warren was at what age when he came to Hamilton's first official farm?
On McHenry Road. And it had to be late teens, I want to say, or mid-teens maybe.
Okay.
14.
Early 19s something.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Do you know at that time, have they ever talked about the idea of how they were getting their water? I know you said they built a building on the
They
farm.
had a, as far as I know, it had a well on it at the house. I know when they moved in, I don't think the house had electricity in it at that time.
Would you know if the well was a hand pumped or was electric?
I don't know. I don't know. Now I know the house didn't have a bathroom in it because it was an outhouse
You heard some stories about that.
back at the time. I remember it being the outhouse being there rather.
Could you see this farm complex yourself at some point in your life?
Oh yeah, I worked on it.
Oh, okay.
When it
We'll
was,
get to
yeah,
that then. We'll get to that.
yeah.
So Dad's there. There's now let's talk about the buildings.
Mm-hmm.
You added. It sounds like they added a building, but what did they have then total?
Okay, they had one big, like a drive-through barn with your corn cribs on both sides of it. Then they had a barn where the cows were that they milked in. They just had basically stalls that they went in and milked. They didn't have any stanchions or anything, I don't think. And then they built the barn that they actually put stanchions in and the milk tank, and that was in the 50s.
And they got there in the 40s, you would say?
Late 40s, early 50s, I want to say.
Okay. So not too long after they're there, they got the milk stanchions in.
Yes. I remember Dad saying that they would carry the milk with horses out to McHenry Road and Route 40 for the milkman to pick up. They carried the milk cans out there. They had a little plateau that they set the cans on for the milkman to come pick them up.
They just picked them up by hand when you say you carried them?
Yeah, oh yeah, they picked them up by hand, put them on a wagon, and pulled them out there by horses.
They were the 10-gallon cans?
I want to say they were 10 gallons. 10 or 5.
Where was the
I wanna
farm
say 10.
again located?
McHenry Road. 2354 is the address.
So, anybody ever tell you what happened to the milk once it got picked up?
No,
Remember what dairy picked it up?
no,
It's okay.
no.
So, I didn't ask you, but did Hamilton, besides Warren, have other kids?
No,
Okay, so your dad was an only child?
was an only child, yes.
And his, not Hamilton's, Warren's mom's name? First name?
Loretta. Yeah, Loretta.
But that was your grandmother?
That was my
What
grandmother.
did you call
Granny.
her? Okay. And you called Hamilton?
Granddaddy.
Okay, Granddaddy.
Yeah.
Okay. So their operation stayed like this for a while? Like more vegetable work or more grain work? Do you know any of that?
No, they basically just grew to feed the cattle and then produce the milk. You know, I'm sure they had a pretty good sized garden for the house. They raised chickens for the eggs and for the meat. No pigs, just cattle. No beef cattle, just dairy cattle.
And they got around in those days using what did they use to get around?
Back in the early days, they just used horses on the farm, and then they had an old Model A or something like that they put it around in.
Did you hear any stories about the horses on the farm?
Not really. They had one blind horse, was basically their best horse, he said. Yes, worked the best. It would listen to whatever they told it to do, as far as the reins go, when they pulled the plow or the wagons or anything like that. It couldn't see, so it trusted them to guide him.
Wow, that's an interesting.
Yes,
So that was the workhorse,
that was one of the workhorses.
not a pleasure horse, but a workhorse.
No, that was a workhorse. They didn't have no pleasure horses. They worked.
You got any questions on the farm like that? Okay. So,
Do you remember, Gary, what old equipment that they used? They didn't have any tractors, it was just horses those days.
I don't remember the horses. That's just stuff that was told to me, you know.
But they must have had machinery around.
Yes. I remember a couple of the, I know, like for instance, we had an old rake for hay that was used by horses first, and it had the seat and all on it. Well, we just put a long tongue on it to pull it with a tractor, and then
Do you remember if it was a dump rake or a side delivery?
side delivery. Yeah, it was real long with the two wheels in the back and the two big wheels in the front. And,
Yeah, when it was pulled by the tractor, no one really had to sit on it.
no, but the seat stayed there.
maybe a grandson could ride on that seat sometime.
There you go. I probably did once in a while.
That was rubber or metal wheels then?
That was rubber.
Okay. Do you remember
yes.
hearing any stories or seeing any pictures of the first tractor that came along?
I believe the first tractor they had was an old Massey Ferguson, but I seen pictures of it, but I don't really remember it that well. It did have rubber tires on it, I knew that.
Do you remember what kind of a mower they might have mowed with?
Sickle bar more
Mounted on the tractor?
on the
horse?
tractor. They had one with the horse drawn, but I didn't see that. The only one I seen was the ones that mounted on the tractor that we used.
So your dad was approximately how old when you were born?
24 maybe?
Okay, he's in his mid-20s.
Yeah.
So so then all you know physically with your eyes was a tractor.
Yes.
But at some point, did you ever hear any stories? I'm curious as to whether or not the next generation has a tendency to influence the older generation to advance with the equipment and the operation of a farm.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to figure out whether or not you heard or know of any experiences between your dad and your granddaddy about it's time to let go of the horses, it's time to get to a tractor. I don't know if they ever discussed any of that, but I'm curious.
I don't know.
Okay.
That I don't know. That was, things about that didn't get talked about in front of the kids at that time, back then, They discussed it themselves. Now, I want to say, and I don't remember exactly when it happened, my dad left the farm due to, he had a bad back and all, so he had to give up farming. And then Granddaddy just kept it. kept it going, and then that's when me and my brother started working on it.
With your granddad?
Yes.
And he introduced back on the farm?
I would say probably did. I don't remember exactly how it happened, but I would venture to say from the work that was done over the years took its toll on it.
We don't know
And-
about what age that he decided not to farm. Or time, even time period.
I want to say late 20s maybe,
Okay. So
maybe
early on.
early 30s. I'm not sure exactly when.
When were you born?
56,
And what day and month?
July 18th.
Okay. So you had siblings?
Yes,
What do you have?
one brother and one sister.
Who's,
Brother's older, my sister's middle, and I'm youngest.
okay. So they were doing a lot of stuff before you even got into thinking about walking around and.
Well, not really, because they're only my brother's only 3 years older than me. So we were born bang, bam, bam.
Oh, okay. Almost
Yeah.
consecutive.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So, but this is the new life for you,
Mm-hmm.
considering that you just entered the world.
Right,
Several years down the line there, you started picking up on the life around you,
right.
3, 4, 5 years old. Can you give me some of your earliest memories about what farm life was like at the earliest you can remember?
I remember at Christmas time, we had to wait for Dad to finish the farm work before we could open any gifts. I remember that distinctly. That sticks in my brain. And I remember springtime, you let the cows out into the new pasture. Always thought that was neat, you know. You knew it was getting warm. They got out to eat the grass and stuff. Basically, that's, you know.
I guess you were playing a lot then.
Yeah, we played quite a bit. Worked as we played kind of thing, you know. Turned work into play.
Did you have bicycles?
Oh yeah. We got one of them. Each one of us got one, yeah. At Christmas, all 3 of us got a bicycle. I guess I was 7 or 8.
What other
Probably.
games do you remember playing with your brothers and sisters?
You know, back in the day, we didn't really have games that you played. We were outside all the time.
You played marbles?
You know, no, hide and go seek, tag,
Cowboys
games
and
like
Indians.
that, Cowboys and Indians, Army, you know, anything outside. We were very rarely inside. Like,
Climb trees?
yeah, like my grandmother used to say, get outside and get the stink blowed off of you.
It's a great quote.
So,
So here you are on the farm. What can you just describe what was going on farm-wise at that time when you were young?
man, it's hard. I remember my dad and them going over early in the morning for milking. I would go out in the fields with them a lot when they brought in hay and stuff like that. Used to go out in the wintertime and bring in corn, you know, fodder for the cows and corn. Used to go out in the field and husk the corn and stuff. My grandfather did a lot of the husking, I remember that.
Oh, how far was the milking from the house?
The barn was only, I want to say, about 100 yards or so from the house. So it wasn't that far. Which was kind of unusual because a lot of the farms, the barns was a lot further from the house back then, I guess, you know. But about 100 yards. And then it was 40-some acres across the road on the other side that was pasture field and hay fields, corn, and stuff like that for the cows.
When you were young, did you still have an outhouse on the property?
Yeah, the outhouse was there, but I don't ever remember using it.
You know, most of them were used for tool sheds.
Yeah. my grandmother had her rabbits behind the outhouse, and I think she kept the rabbit food and all inside the outhouse. So they found use for it. Because I think I was 3 or 4 when my dad built his house and we moved across the road. So.
Across the road where the fields were.
Yes.
So you took a piece of that property.
Took a piece of that property. My dad brought a piece of the property and then he built on it.
So 3 or 4. You were about.
I think I was 3 or 4 then. Now I'm just guessing on that one.
That's okay. So at that same time period, dad is farming. Your dad is building a house.
Amongst
House
farming,
and
running the
still
farm.
Running.
Yes, yes.
I'm sure he didn't get it done in 2 months either.
No. I'm sure it was a while. It was a while.
Okay. So did your brother and you wind up? So what did you do? You really started to get more active at 5, 6, and 7, but you were really living across the street. But the real attraction in your life, besides playing, was across the street.
Yes.
At the farm. Did somebody always have to walk you safely across the street?
No.
Or it was.
We just ran. We didn't.
Any close calls?
No.
Not a
We
lot of
were
traffic.
basically, no. We were basically back and forth between both houses. We
Sounds
treated it basically like we had 2 homes.
Our new space, our
Yes.
bigger place.
Yes.
To have fun.
So,
Did dad at some point? What was your brother's name again?
Tim.
Tim. Oh, you never told me. So did dad come to you and Tim and say, "I'm sorry guys, you can't play today. You got to get over here and do this with me"?
No, it wasn't said to us like that. It was just, come on, let's go. And then you just got up and went. It wasn't, you didn't say, what are we going to do? Or, you just left.
So let's think about what some of your non-playing chores were. I know you just. I'm sorry to interrupt, Gary, but I know you tried to take a lot of your chores and turn them into fun things too.
Right.
So you incorporate it for me.
Well, we milked cows. We got up, I got up and milked cows, cleaned the barn, baled hay. Basically, as you got older, you did more. When you were able to do more, you did more. When you got stronger, when you got bigger, you drove the tractors, you baled the hay, you cut the hay, plowed the field, milked the cows, put up the fences, anything that
All that.
we had to be done, we just did.
So just to help me just see the delineation of chores, it's Warren was your brother?
No, Tim.
Tim, I'm sorry. So Tim and you, that's like 2 farm hands in my mind. So you could be sent in 2 different directions, or you could be put on the same task, but not always is it a 2-person task. So you guys got assigned out, kind of.
Right. We kind of, basically we didn't, we worked together when we baled hay and stuff. But we didn't work together, one of us was milking cows, one of us was doing something else type deal. Now as Tim got older, in his late teens, cars and all, he left first, and then I still stayed on the farm and worked it with Granddaddy.
Oh.
And then,
Your dad was already out of it by then?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
by then.
So it's fair to say during the teens that you're Granddaddy's right-hand guy?
For a year or so there.
Oh, a season.
Yeah, a couple seasons, I wouldn't say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did he wind up getting help?
No, he basically, I want to say he was in his late 60s or so when he sold the cows.
Oh, but then you were in your 20s?
No. I was 17,
Okay.
16, 17 when he sold.
What was that like?
Kind of hard, you know, because you were used to cows being there and that was your way of doing things, and then all of a sudden it wasn't there. So I was at that age where, you know, cars and stuff were coming in for me, but you still, you missed it. You missed not doing it. Because that's the only thing you knew, you know. I didn't go out and work anywhere. I worked on the neighbor's farm when I was working for Granddaddy. When we ran out of stuff to do, I went up and helped him. I think it was $1.25 an hour back then.
For who?
An hour.
For you?
Uh-huh.
For the neighbor's farm?
Uh-huh.
What about your dad paying you, or your granddad, excuse me?
He did pay me, because I remember saving up money to buy a little motorcycle there. So, see, I did get paid some money. But really didn't do it for that, I don't think, you know.
Let's go back to the earliest little, while you're working on the farm, not prior to. And you're in school.
Yes.
So with school and farming, you've got two busy important things to do.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what a typical day in the middle of the week, you know, not your Saturdays or Sundays, but a day in the middle of the week was like for you. Like, let's start, you know, I got up.
You get up, not often. Once in a while you'd go over and you might help him on milk cows or something before you went to school. But that was kind of rare. You know, it didn't happen that much in the mornings. Went to school, come home from school, went over to the barn and started getting ready for the cows to milk them in the evenings. Because back then you got out of school, I think around 3:30. So by the time you got home, got your clothes, your good clothes off and your bad clothes on, and went over to the barn and started getting the milkers and all together. It was, you know, 5:30 before you knew it, and then that was milking time. So by the time we got the cows in and milked, got them out, didn't sweep the barn or nothing in the evenings, did that in the mornings. It was 7:30, something like that, I would imagine. I probably played for about an hour, run around, and then homework, time to go to sleep.
Homework, then ready for bed.
Mm-hmm.
So
At your farm, were there neighboring farms?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And where, how close?
Oh, you had Junior Hobbs's, which basically his farm kind of backed up right to ours. You know, had a road between us. And then Fisher's farm, they were a couple miles down the road.
How big were those farms?
They were bigger than us. Junior Hobbs, he milked, I want to say, he milked probably close to 100. He had quite a bit of acreage. 100 or so acres, I guess he had there. Because it went from Rover Mill, McHenry over to behind Sullivan's farm just before Burnt Woods Road. So he had pretty good chunk. Fisher's, that was up off of Hobbs Road. As far as acreage and all, I don't know how many he had. He, like I say, he had quite a few too. And he milked quite a few, like I say. And then, and of course you had Bob Harless on this farm. And he was about the biggest one around at that time, that I knew of anyway.
how were you getting to school?
School bus.
And what school was that?
West Friendship, Glenwood, and Glenelg.
Started at West Friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's cross the street from Granddaddy.
Okay.
We're now in this great, tell me what this great new house is like.
It was basically a small rancher type house, three bedroom, one bath, open basement. So you had a kitchen, living room, 3 bedrooms and a bathroom.
A picture window?
And of course a picture window. Had to have that. Had to have that.
That was the time.
That was the time, yeah. Everybody had one.
Here's an odd question though. While, I didn't get your sister's first name.
Linda.
While Linda was growing up on the farm and Mom was there on the farm, your sister had some opportunities to hang out and be around Mom growing up in her center of operation, which I think is the kitchen and the garden, and help me out here.
You're losing me.
Okay, Mom had an operation on the farm too.
Yes, yes. Basically the garden and food,
Yeah. Okay.
you know.
That's good.
But like I say, once Dad left to go to work off the farm, then, you know, she didn't stay helping on the farm. She basically at a motel cleaning rooms.
Okay, so your sister was helping where in that reality at the time?
Sis basically was helping Mom, basically in the kitchen and all. Yes, as far as being out on the farm and all, I don't remember her being out there that much.
You don't think she had an interest in the animals and the fields?
No, I don't think so, no.
Do you remember the kitchen doing any canning or preserving?
Yes, they did that. Corn, I remember corn, string beans, llama beans, stuff like that. Yeah, they did quite a few canning.
And what else can you remember in the garden? Cabbage?
Watermelon, cabbage, cucumbers,
Sugar corn?
squash. Oh yeah, I had to have sweet corn. I say squash. Potatoes, fresh potatoes out of the garden, best thing in the world. And fresh milk out of the tank, best thing to drink.
All right, so I'm just trying to get a picture of this. I want to find out what you know about Dad's transition from realizing that he can't, and it's not healthy for him to stay farming and go out and find another world. Did he do that with an ease, or was that a very hard decision to do?
I don't know.
Okay.
He was very closed mouth about that, I guess you want to say. He didn't talk to the kids about his problems. That was their problems. Whatever discussions they had, it was made out of our ears,
Okay.
you know.
So Sundays come along on the farm. You're still a kid. You haven't gotten to your teens yet. Just concentrate on that
Okay.
era. What was a Sunday like for you all?
That was your day off. You didn't work in the fields or
You've
nothing.
got a whole bunch of cows sitting there.
Well, let me finish.
Okay.
So you milked in the morning, which took about 3 hours, cleaned the barn up, and you had the rest of the day. A lot of times relatives would come by. We played ball, stuff like that. We always played softball. And then 4 o'clock rolled around and you milked again. By the time you got finished there, it was 7:30 or so. So that was kind of the end of the day by the time you ate supper.
What was your typical dinner on Sunday?
Oh man, that's a tough one. Because nothing sticks out.
Fried chicken?
Oh yeah, fried chicken, but it wasn't an every time, you know, it wasn't, we had a lot of varieties, whatever was growing at that time. you know, fresh corn, tomato sandwiches, eggs and bacon. We had that for supper, you know. I mean, it wasn't nothing unordinary. Or nothing that, well, we're going to have this because it's Sunday, you know. It was whatever they had, I guess, at that time.
It's interesting you say supper, because that's not a common word anymore.
No, but that's what I call it.
That's great. So, on the farm, still kind of, this is Granddaddy's farm,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, we've learned over the large amount of time that sometimes people get injured on the farm. Do you remember any injuries on working with any of the people working the farm?
I got cut my foot with a corn cutter, cutting corn. Got about 6 stitches in that. And I fell off the wagon, got ran over by the wagon and messed my knee up. And I still think my brother pushed me, but that's a different story in itself.
What part of your leg got whacked with a corn cutter?
My foot, right between your toe and your, I guess the arch of your foot.
You did have your shoes on?
Oh yeah, right through the shoe. Well, you go back with that corn cutter, you're back like this and you're swinging it. Yeah, right through the shoe. Yeah.
So, Granddaddy kept this farm going for a while, even though your father headed off to his new job life?
Yeah, he sold out once for about a year or so.
What does that mean, sold out?
Well, he got rid of the cows for about a year or so, but then he got right back in. I think he basically was going to stop, and he decided it wasn't time yet, so he started back up again.
He sold them to another farmer.
Yes.
And did he go after the same cows?
No, whole different herd.
Reassembled a new herd.
Whole different herd.
He came up with his new.
You just find another farmer that's thinking the same thing he was. It's that time to get out, and you see what his herd's like, and you buy his herd.
What was the size of his new herd roughly?
I want to say at 30.
Okay. So, I want to see where his farm life evolved to then. Your granddaddy's. Through time, he went through the next phase and next phase. What was that?
Now I don't understand what you mean by it.
Well, he just sold off his herd and then he just got that back.
Got
That
back
was
in
a
one.
specific time period.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So he kept going.
Yeah.
Right? You fell in love with cars, and your dad's got his other full-time
Right.
job. So what was the next phase of your granddaddy's farming then?
When he started the herd back, then I went back to work for him.
Oh.
Yeah. It was no brainer. That's just what you did, you know. And I want to. He had them. He didn't have the last herd that long. Maybe a couple years, maybe. And then he finally sold out for good. And I want to say it was he was in his late 60s, or mid to late 60s, I want to say.
But you were still working with him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you ever hear him talk about that to you?
No.
That's another kind of
Yeah.
business side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. How would you describe the personality and the qualities of your grandfather?
Hard working. What you see is what you got. Honest. Wanted to be treated as he treated you. And I have a lot of respect for him. A lot of respect for my dad.
Did your dad learn those qualities from Hamilton?
Yes. I'm sure he did.
You saw that in action?
Yes.
Right.
They were, my dad's a special man, and my grandfather was a special man. So
Good to know. And that's art, okay. We're gonna keep going.
there you go.
So, time evolved, your grandfather got older, he sold the farm in his 60s?
I want to say his late 60s, mid
Do
60s.
you know what he got into then?
During this whole time, he was taking care of the cemeteries at McHenry Road. There was 2 cemeteries there. He was mowing them, digging graves. We dug graves when they needed to be dug. He stayed on. He took care of them till late 70s. He was working at like I say, Glenelg High School as a janitor, and Glenwood as a janitor, and Glenelg Country School as a janitor, you know, off and on through all 3 of them. In his later years, he was working at, I think, Glenelg and Glenwood, basically. I think he worked there after he quit farming.
Did he ever think about, talk about, or consider offering you the farm?
No.
Would you have taken it? At that time?
At that time, I often think about it, and I can't give you an honest answer. I think I'm 50-50. I don't want to say I definitely would had. I would have liked to think I would have, but I can't. I'd be lying to you if I sat here and said it. I definitely would have. I don't know. Thinking about it now, I would have loved to, you know, but that's now.
He passed away when?
Oh man, 91, I think, when they passed.
And he made it to how long?
He was 89 or 90.
Oh,
Yes.
great.
I want to say in his early 90s.
Who was the longest? Your grandmother?
My grandmother lived about 3 years after Granddaddy.
Okay.
And she was in her 90s, early 90s.
Was she in their original farmhouse, or did she
Yes.
go over to your place?
No, she lived into the original farmhouse up till I bet you the last month or so that she was living, because she was bedridden the last month. But she stayed in the farm till then.
Wow. So, you're when you think back to those earlier years, I should establish there's something about when you were in your teens and you got into cars and you got into the fact that you could roam around, drive wherever you wanted with the cars. You were still working on the farm though, at times?
Yeah, at about the time the car deal came in, 16 and a half, 17, was about when he sold out. So the farm the cows weren't there anymore.
A good growth timing there between the
Yes,
two.
yes, yeah.
You were there wasn't anything there.
Yeah, right,
I got you.
right.
So let's just look back for those all the way up to the, by the way, what was your first car?
68 Camaro,
Nice choice.
yes. $1,800.
Not today.
No way,
Not for that year.
no way.
It's become a jewel. Okay, so without getting off, let's say
Yes.
so you're always learned. I mean, you got the chance to go out with Granddad, and at some point he said, "You drive this." What was it you were driving when he said, "You drive this"?
The first car that I drove, he had was an old white Falcon. But I was pretty young then. I was 11 or so, 12 maybe. I mean, so I just drove out in the fields, and then, you know, I drove tractors when I was, you know, 8, 9.
Really?
Oh yeah, you drove tractor when you were young.
For a serious assignment in the field?
I want to say it, I remember, I guess I was around 10 or 11, and used to, you know, feed the cows hay out in the field, and you take the tractor out and put the tractor in first gear, run the gas all the way down so it just puts along, walk the tongue of the wagon back to the wagon and spread the hay out, and then walk the tongue back up and hop back on the tractor.
Pretty cool.
Just so you don't fall. You know, but I guess I was mowing hay and all at 13. You know,
What kind of hay were you doing? I mean, was it loose hay or baled hay?
baled, yeah. No, loose hay was before me.
Your grandfather?
Our granddad had loose hay, where they had the horse-drawn rake where they would drag it and then lift it up and dump it. Yeah.
So you were doing this at 10, 11, 12,
Yeah.
with any takeoff stuff on the back? You're pulling something.
Yes. Pulling a sickle bar mower. We used to have a crimper that crimped the hay then. So you not only you mowed it, then you crimped it, then you raked it, then you baled it on the ground, and then you went out and picked it up off the ground and threw it on the wagon.
And if it rained, you crimped it again?
Yes, and then it came out with the tedders where the rake ran backwards and tedded it up. That was a new deal there for a while, but that was towards the end.
So you're young, who was reading the weather then?
Reading the weather?
Yeah. I mean, you know,
Granddaddy.
I mean, he said, today's a good day, let's go.
Yeah, he did all that as far as when to cut, when not to cut, when to bale, when to plant. He just, you know.
But were you picking that up?
I knew about when, but I really didn't get into it because he was there.
Gotcha.
That wasn't in my job description at the time. I had enough to do.
You probably had a TV set, but did your granddad or your dad use radio?
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember we had one TV in the house. Yeah, we only had one.
Now this was Granddad's house? Or
Granddad had one TV, and then we had one TV in our house too.
Were they floor model radios or small portable ones?
One was a floor model, but one was a small portable one that Granny used, because she used to sit there in a rocking chair and have a radio next to her and sit there and listen to the radio.
And what was she doing while she was listening to the radio?
Looking at magazines, just relaxing, stuff like that.
Crocheting and quilting?
Granny worked at night. She did all of her housework between 11 and 4. Maybe that's how they survived together all those years, because she did the housework between 11 and 4. Granddad went to bed at 11 and got up about 4:30. So they might have passed one another on the steps going up, but he was going out and she was going to bed. But that's the way she did it. That's always, I remember her doing that. Granddad would fix breakfast for herself, and then Granny would fix the lunch and supper.
Interesting lifestyle there. Mm-hmm. So, if you look back now and you say, and I ask you, I say, what was your favorite piece of equipment to use?
Oh, tractor.
Can you tell me why?
Easy. You just sat on it.
Yeah, but it didn't have a computerized GPS where you could tell it where to go.
That's true, but hey, you just turned the wheel and gave it the gas and you just sat there. It wasn't real hard.
And your favorite piece of equipment attached to the tractor was.
Oh, you're working me now.
Well, did you have a manure spreader, you remember?
Oh yeah, I hated that job.
Well, that's the one we want to hear about.
Hey, you used to leave the cows up in the wintertime to keep the water from freezing in the barn, and plus, you didn't have any loafing shed for the cows to be in, so you left them in the barn to keep the barn warm. Well, they crapped in the drain behind them. Well, every morning after milking, you pulled the manure spreader around to the barn door. You had a wooden ramp going up and a wooden ramp over. You filled the wheelbarrow up with the crap, and you wheeled it up over the manure spreader and you dumped it. Well, I found out real quick, don't lose your footing, because I did that once. And you believe me, you only fall in at one time. And then you get it filled up and you take it out in the field where it's a little bit of snow and it's a little bit of wind, which is fine until you start to turn. And once you start to turn, the beaters are slinging that crap around and the wind picks it up, and you don't got no cab on the tractor. So that wind throws that crap right into you, and there ain't nothing you can do about it.
Was this manure spreader powered by the wheels or a power takeoff?
Oh, by the wheels. Yeah, that was by the wheels.
Steel wheels?
No, rubber. Rubber.
And what brand was it?
Oh man, that I don't know. Don't remember that one. I venture to say it was international because I think it was red.
Just, 5 minutes.
Okay. So, did you embark in farming any other time after
No,
getting out of high school? By the way, did you go to college or just high school?
just high school. Just high school.
Okay.
Took auto mechanics in high school and then
Ah.
went into
What was
cars
that high
after
school
that.
again?
Glenelg.
Okay.
Now my brother, he went into farming.
All right, let's hear about how that.
He ran a farm for General Warfield up in Daisy. And then from there, he started a farm himself on the farm where Granddaddy was at. He was there for about maybe a year. I want to say it was about 100 acres, maybe a little less. And he was milking, I want to say 30 or 40 at one time.
This was the farm, the Warfield farm, he was helping them?
He was just running it for General Warfield.
The farm?
Manager, yeah.
So he kept track of everything
Everything, yeah.
for General Warfield?
hmm
And so he had X amount of helpers?
I worked for him for one summer, and he had, I think it was 2 guys helping him.
Did your dad, even your grandfather, ever mention having German prisoners on any local farms?
No. I remember when we would bale hay this is when I was real young. He would bring patients from Springfield and Oak Grove to work on the farm to bale hay. He'd bring them up, and some of them had lived in the city all their life. They were just amazed at all the grass. I remember that. And then he'd take them home that evening.
So you came back, he came back into farming. What were you doing at that time you got into?
I was working, I had just started working at a gas station down on Route 1
Okay.
when he did that.
Pumping or fixing?
Fixing.
Okay,
Fixing.
cool. So that gas station, this is odd, but it does happen. Did anybody bring in farm equipment to that? Because you've had experience in your area.
No,
Okay.
no.
So you mostly concentrated on
Cars,
cars?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
No trucks, pickups?
Oh, yeah, pickups,
Okay.
yeah.
But not
Smaller pickups, not your big trucks or nothing, no,
dump trucks?
no.
You were not Charlie Klein, huh?
No, no.
I I don't know Charlie Klein, I imagine he has a big operation. Huh?
Big international
Yeah.
ship in Ellicott City.
I
Yeah.
got you. So, Tim
Yes.
he stuck with the farm until, he's on somebody else's farm, Warfield's. And then what did he do after Warfield's?
Then he went to work for the State Farm. Oh, Warfield's, he started milking on his own. As he worked for Warfield, he was building a herd down at Granddaddy's. And I want to say he was up to 12 or 13 milking down there when he moved from there up to Myersville. And then he brought some cows up there, a herd up there, I think.
And a couple times you got to help him during the summer.
I helped him at Warfields, and then I'd go up there and help him on a weekend once in a while, just to help a little bit, that's all.
Right.
But it was nothing every day or anything like that, or got paid for.
Okay.
But and then he took a part-time job at the gas station to make ends meet, and then part-time job turned into a full-time job, and then he was working on the farm plus the full-time job just to make ends meet, and he just, couldn't do it. And he got out, and then he went to work for the State Farm over on Folly Quarter Road.
General help or what?
Field hand.
Okay.
He said he didn't want to do no cows no more, so he went to work in the field.
Interesting. So he was growing and harvesting.
Yeah.
Concentrate on that side.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Which he had done plenty of with the cows.
Right, absolutely.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, he was pretty good at what to use on where and the chemicals that had come out over the years he kept up with.
With soil.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think at the very beginning of this, we talked, and you've gotten some interest back into farming now?
No, I go up there and mow the field and all up there,
Okay.
the grass and stuff.
Okay.
I'd like to get a fence up and get a couple cows, beef cattle. But I don't know. Just to have cows back on the property. I guess after you get older, you'd like to see it again,
Sure.
You're talking about cows or steers?
Steers, beef cattle.
Yeah, steers.
Yeah.
I knew what he meant. So you're...
No dairy cattle, I ain't milking.
Done milking.
Yeah, I'm done milking. I remember the electric went off one time and we had to milk by hand, me and Granddaddy. And I think we were milking about 18. And I think I milked 3. And he milked the rest. That's how good he was at it. And it's just amazing how them guys milk by hand in cold weather and no heat and,
The ladies did the milking too.
Yes, and I remember in the winter, Dad was telling me, like I say, they took those milk cans out to 144 with horse-drawn wagons. Snow got so bad that instead of going a half a mile out the road, they had to go about 4 miles the other way to come around because of the snow. And you're thinking about drawing in horses, and it's a snowstorm and drifting snow, and you got to want to do that work. You ain't doing it for money because you ain't making it. You ain't making money at it.
Yeah, the milk is not making money sitting at the barn.
No. I remember, like I say, one bad storm, we were dumping milk out. The tanks were full, the trucks couldn't get in to get it. They milk twice a day. Once your tanks are full, you start just dumping it on the ground.
You go to the Howard County Fair?
I don't go anymore. It's too commercialized. You know, I used to love to go. Used to love to walk through the barns and stuff, see the 4-H and all. But I don't know, it's just not for me anymore.
So how long has it been since you think you've been to a fair?
15 years? At least. At least 15 years,
It was a good time 15 years ago, though.
you know.
Wasn't beckoning you to spend a dollar.
No, it wasn't, yeah, it wasn't too bad then. But I want to say it was at least been that long.
Supposing 15 years ago when you were at the fair, a young guy comes up to you and he says, I heard about your granddaddy and your farm, and so you've been farming, right? And you say, sure, in the early days I was. And then he says to you, do you think I should go into farming? And I'm thinking about it. What would you tell him?
In Howard County today?
You better go into it because you want to do it, not because you're going to make money at it, because you're not. It's going to be a hard life. And you might have to take a second job just to survive off the farm. So, because if the milk prices that they get today are within a couple dollars of what we were getting when we were farming. So how can you survive with the equipment prices and stuff? I don't know how they do it. I guess that's why so many are going out. They see the land's worth money. They're getting older. Their sons and daughters don't want to go into it because there's no money there. And a lot of the older farmers, when you talk to them, they don't want their kids to go into it because they know what kind of life they're going to have. And it's just getting worse for them. And you have no help. So.
I understand your dad is still alive.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And what's he doing today?
Enjoying retirement. You know.
How old is he?
Dad is, now I'm a
86?
I want to say 86, 87. Yeah. I'm still working on him, but I don't know whether we'll get him here.
I was about to ask you that.
Well, one of the reasons you're here is because he didn't want to be here.
Yeah.
The cameras were scared him, he said.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell him that I did it. I don't see why you can't do it. So if I wasn't going to do it, how can I get him to do it, you know?
Thank you.
Because he's got a lot more to offer than I do.
Uh-huh.
A lot more.
And we would have enjoyed having you.
Yes. So I'll keep on him, off and on. You never know.
Thank you, Gary.
You're quite welcome.